Howdy, partner. Felt like being a little goofy, being a little silly, being a little bit rambunctious, and throwing on a cowboy hat today, m'lady. It's a fedora thing, not a cowboy hat thing. Today I wanted to talk about how I am dreading this new Fall Out Boy album. Now, Fall Out Boy have recently been putting hints out to hint that they will be, and teasing that they will be dropping their 8th album. It's gonna be garbage. I'm calling it right now. There's no way, there's no world in which this album is actually good. Fall Out Boy have been on a very consistent downward spiral for quite some time now. Once I got back together in 2013, after the hiatus, and they dropped Save Rock and Roll, it's been downhill ever since. That album was good. It was good. It was far from some of their best from their first 4 albums, which I consider all to be amazing albums. However, it's not bad. It's a good album. American Beauty, American Psycho, very mid album, and Mania was just utter garbage. And I feel like it's going to continue the trend. Honestly, I don't think it's going to be worse than Mania because of just how horrible that album was, but it's not going to be much better. I'm just saying it now. Mania is just such a departure from their sound. But it's not, and usually I like when an artist mixes up their sound and everything in a way that works. But this doesn't work. This is a weird departure that just does not work for this band in the slightest. Basic ass instrumentals, horrible vocal effects on Patrick for some reason, even though he's such an amazing singer, and it's masking it so horribly. Fucking piss poor writing from Pete Wentz. Everything about this album, everything about Mania was horrible. And I know that there's no way, after consistently showing that they will not improve, that this album is going to be good. However, I do expect it to be a little bit better. They have done a few things, such as the Lake Effect Kid EP, that was actually pretty good. It had 2 new songs on it, as well as sort of actually putting out one of their old songs. It's sort of like that they didn't have it on any albums that they played live, and sort of like the older style, and I thought that actually really worked. Personally, I don't believe that this album is going to be good. I think it's going to have little, if any, redeeming qualities to its name, but we'll just have to wait and see. The main thing for this band that I feel like has been dragging them down for so long, the main perpetrator of this fall from grace of Fall Out Boy, is Pete Wentz. And I hate to say that, because Pete Wentz has been an integral part of the band for several years. He's a good musician, but the way he wants to go with the band, the direction he wants to go, and has led the band to such a horrible place. And that's evident by the fact that the reason they had that 3-year hiatus, which honestly, I just call a breakup because that's essentially what it was. The reason because of that was because of creative differences, mostly because of Pete. Pete seems like a very creatively demanding type of person, very in control with the music that gets put out. And I'm not saying anything like definitively because I don't know Pete Wentz personally, and he is a member of my favorite band of all time, so, you know, yeah. I don't know where I was going with that. But he's the one who's always trying this more outlandish stuff that they're putting out. From back in the day, in the early 2000s, sort of working with rappers and stuff, such as Lil Wayne, Kanye. There's a name. Just, he seems to be the one that's always taking it in these weird creative directions. And sometimes it pays off. Fully Vidoe was an absolutely amazing album, and arguably their best. Personally, my favorite's Infinity on High, but if someone were to say Fully Vidoe was their best, I wouldn't get up in arms about it. However, I just feel like since the old days, since the beginning of Fall Out Boy, Pete Wentz has been dragging the band down. I'm not saying I'll kick Pete out of the band. No, he's been a member of the band since the inception, I believe. He might be one of the founding members. Actually, I believe it's Patrick and Joe, but either way, Pete Wentz has been there since relatively the beginning, and he is an integral member of the band. All 4 of them are integral and have been with the band for almost the entirety of the band's run, so I don't see an issue with keeping him in the band. But I feel like they need to get their shit together, mostly Pete, because through side projects and other shit, Joe, Andy, and Patrick have all proven that they are not the problem, because they have consistently put out good music outside of Fall Out Boy. Patrick's solo album, Soul Punk, is such a departure from the Fall Out Boy sound, but it works so well in his favor due to his amazing writing and absolutely phenomenal vocals. So obviously Patrick isn't the problem. And Joe and Andy have played in multiple other bands that have done, like, put out some good stuff. So they are not the problem either. And the fact that Patrick can branch out into such a different sound and still make it sound absolutely amazing, and honestly have one of my favorite songs of all time on it, shows that there's a way to branch out and there's a way not to branch out. And the way Pete Wentz is going about it is just not good. It is dragging this band to the ground, because so many songs on Mania were not just bad, but some just I cannot listen to. When Young and Menace dropped, it was the biggest disappointment I have ever heard. When I heard that was happening, that the Fall Out Boy dropped a new song, I listened to it and I heard that, it was utterly disappointing. And I believe Hard Times by Paramore dropped on the same day, proving that it is possible to switch from your sort of designated sound to something more outside of your comfort zone and absolutely kill it like Paramore did. Because Paramore are a very, very cohesive band, very creatively minded, and they do such a good job of mixing up that sound. Even with such a revolving door lineup, they have done everything to make each album better and better and kill it every single fucking time. But Fall Out Boy can't do that, which sucks, because they have done some really good shit in the past. 4 absolutely amazing albums. Dare I say, 4 10 out of 10 albums. That might be a hot take, but I don't care. Fall Out Boy were a great band, but thanks to the sort of creative directions mostly pushed by Pete Wentz, I feel like the band is just going in a shitty place. And this isn't even anything new. Since the beginning, Pete Wentz has been this way. All of the lyrics on Fall Out Boy's first album, Take This to Your Grave, were written by Patrick Stump. But they were later, before the album, before recording, Pete Wentz went back and heavily rewrote everything. Would it be rewrote or rewrote? Rewrote everything. This has been a consistent issue that is only shown to be as prevalent and big as it is now over time. Over time, it's gotten bigger and bigger. And you can see this even in the jump from album to album in the pre-hiatus years, from Under the Cork Tree to Infinity on High. That was a very different sound, honestly, listening to those albums back to back. You can tell. And it worked in those days, but it's not working now. I hate to say it, but this new Fall Out Boy album is going to be garbage. I'd love to be proved wrong. I'd love to. I'd love to have a Fall Out Boy album that I love again. But sadly, I don't think it's going to happen. It's going to be the end of this video. I guess we'll just have to wait and see how this goes. Bye. Love you.